Hello everyone, welcome back to our class, Physiological Psychology, and for this week, let's learn more about the cells of the nervous system. So you already know the main parts of your nervous system, which is the peripheral nervous system and the central nervous system. And now let's discover more about the cells. So according to Carl Jung, the separation of psychology from the premises of biology is purely artificial because the human psyche lives in indissoluble union with the body. So it means that we cannot really separate the biological implications in our body. The effects of the drug we take, the components in our brain. Any biological feature is really important and it has an implication to your behavior as well as to your mind. There are actually two types of cells in the nervous system. The main types are the neuron and the glia. The neuron is specialized to carry out the functions of information processing and communication in your nervous system. This is supported by the glia or the glial cells, which name comes from the Greek word for glue. Glia are the cells in the nervous system that support the activities of neurons. Okay? The actual nerve cell is the neuron. It is the conducting cell that transmit impulses and the structural unit of the nervous system. There are basic parts of a neuron. We have organelle, cell body or soma, the axon, the dendrite, the intracellular and the extracellular fluid, the synapse, and we also have neurotransmitters. So these are the different types of neurotransmitter. A neurotransmitter is a chemical messenger that transfers information across a synapse. Examples are we have adrenaline. This is known as the fight or flight neurotransmitter. Noradrenaline, concentration neurotransmitter. Dopamine, the pleasure neurotransmitter. Serotonin, this is the mood neurotransmitter. We also have the GABA. This is the calming neurotransmitter. Acetylcholine, the learning neurotransmitter. Glutamate, memory neurotransmitter. And endorphins, the euphoria neurotransmitter. I hope you are familiar with this already. These are the parts of neurons. Now let's dig more into that. A synapse is the junction or the space between two neurons at which information is transferred from one another. We have nucleus. This is the substructure within a cell body that contains the cell's DNA. We also have Golgi apparatus, endoplasmic reticulum, ribosome, mitochondria, known as the powerhouse of the cell, myelin. This is a fatty insulating material covering some axons that boost the speed and efficiency of electrical signaling. We also have the node of Ranvier. This is the uncovered section of axon membrane between two adjacent segments of myelin. These are the parts, no? Dendrites, they receive signals from other cells. This is like a branch-like structure that is found within the neuron. So ito yung parang sanga-sanga, no? The cell body organizes and keeps the cell functional. The cell membrane protects the cell. The node of Ranvier allow the diffusion of ions. The axon transfers signals to other cells and organs. The myelin sheath, it increases the speed of the signal. It insulates the signal that is being sent into your body. The node of Ranvier, this is in the middle of the myelin sheath. This allows the diffusion of ions. The Schwann cell produces the myelin sheath. No? And also we have the axon terminal. Okay, we have different types or categories of neurons. We have unipolar neuron, bipolar neuron, multipolar neuron. This is the most basic type of neuron. Sensory neuron, specialized on the translation of incoming sensory information into electrical signals by your senses, of course. Motor neuron, a specialized neuron that communicates with your muscles and glands. This is responsible for movement. Interneuron, a neuron that serves as a bridge between sensory and motor neuron. Okay, so neurons are responsible for processing information, and glia will help perform a variety of supportive functions. We also have macroglia. This provides a variety of support functions towards the neurons, which includes the formation of myelin, and microglia that removes debris resulting from damage to neurons. Okay, in processing of an action potential, Okay, there are series of steps. An action potential is wherein the activity that is where the electrical impulses are being transferred towards your body. No? In neural communication, there is a development of an electrical signal. This is what they called the action potential. Okay, in the axon hillock, it was being sent, no, or the presynaptic neuron. When the action potential arrives at the axon terminal, the process switches from electrical to chemical signaling. The presynaptic neuron releases the molecules of neurotransmitters from its terminals, and the neurotransmitter molecule then floats across the synaptic gap to the waiting postsynaptic neuron. It is then up to the postsynaptic neuron to decide whether to send the message along. Okay, we also have the opposite of action potential. If there is a generation of an electrical signal, then there is also a resting stage. No, this is what they call as the resting potential. This is the measurement of the electrical charge across the neural membrane when the cells is not processing information. Okay, so let's move on to synapses. The human brain contains about 100 billion neurons, and the average neuron forms something on the order of 1,000 synapses. So these are the connections. This is like the junction or the space between every neuron. Chemical synapse is a type of synapse in which messages are transmitted from one neuron to another by chemical neurotransmitters. We also have electrical synapses. These are types of synapses in which a neuron directly affects an adjacent neuron through the movement of ions from one cell to another. Okay, we also have the two processes involved in neural activity. This is endocytosis and exocytosis. What are the difference, sir? Endocytosis is the process of capturing a substance or particle from outside the cell by engulfing it with the cell membrane and bringing it into the cell. This is inside. The process is inside. This happens because there are nutrients that needed to be absorbed by a cell, no, in order for it to keep on functioning. That's why endocytosis happens. While exocytosis is the process of vesicle fusing with the plasma membrane and releasing their contents to the outside of the cell. So there are some substances needed to be released by inside of your neuron in order for the waste products or substances to be removed, no, hence maintaining that healthy state of your neurons. Let's move on to reuptake. So a reuptake is the process for ending the action of neurotransmitters in the synaptic gap, in which the presynaptic membrane recaptures the transmitter molecules. So for SSRI, or selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, they inhibit the reuptake of serotonin, which is responsible for mood, no? So it stays in the synaptic cleft. It is not being wasted or not being transferred. That's why this kind of medication is somehow necessary for those people who have mood disorders like depression. Okay, this is an actual process wherein um, there is a neural communication. So these are the some of the stages how it transfers from the presynaptic neuron going to the postsynaptic neuron. And that is the end of the lesson. I hope you've learned something. Thank you so much for listening. God bless.